public use for, older people in the daytime, youth in the evening, computer class.
Put 2 or 3 employees up there.
Class.
Put Yvonne's office up there, Zach Whitlow's office at the Chamber of Commerce, but there's nothing to take back. When you say take the Armory back, it's here. The Armory's owned by managed by, this is your board of directors of the Armory right here.
It is, but it isn't.
I don't know what to say, because every time the volunteers have done something, they've asked permission to go do it. I don't know.
And so that's been granted because of.
It's been granted in public meetings because they have decided we can do some repairs for your building, to the town's building, at no cost to the taxpayers. We're willing to put our own resources in there, and we know we do so at our own risk. We actually had a vote in the Armory to let the volunteers continue to spotlight the American flag. That had to come before this council. So the council has exercised great oversight on that.
The work that they have done has come from volunteers who have donated their own time to do it. So it's,
Awesome.
Right.
But I just think moving forward, if a decision is going to be made by the council and we as a community is going to move forward,
Right.
I think that should lie back with the council and not necessarily a committee. If you all form a committee of citizens to be on that board and help make decisions, then so be it,
Right.
but not a special formed group.
Yeah, I will just tell you right now, this mayor who took office in 2006, the last thing this project needs, good, bad, or ugly, is another advisory group to look at the Armory. That you're talking about another year wasted of just paralysis in the community. Mr. Colonel Tom had a comment.
This whole Armory stuff is just one big perfect example of the misinformation that's out there. There is no Armory committee. There isn't. It's the Harris Memorial Armory Center Incorporated. It's a 501c3 organization. They raise their own money. They've been doing things for the Army. They're not the Armory committee that reports to us.
Right.
So there is no Armory committee out there at all. So the fact that they've been coming forward and doing things and asking to do things, that's because they love the Armory. They want to see it saved. They want to see it nurtured so that it can help the whole community as an education center, as a place for elderly folks to go, a place for kids to play basketball, a place for kids to go after school. That's what everybody wants. There's nobody that's trying to turn this into a country club or into anything else. So, and I think that if we try to do a ballot, I don't think we can word it. I don't think you can word it in any way, shape, or form that wouldn't be completely misconstrued by anybody looking at it.
And I think option C, do none of the above, will win, and then we're going to sit in these chambers and where we're going to be. C will win. The average Blackstone person is going to say none of the above.
Yeah,
Or they'll check A and B, say do both.
the 7 of us up here, and this is where I lied,
right back
is
where we started.
I love the Armory, but I don't feel the 7 of us up here have enough voice to go up and say, all right, well, to fund this, if we're going to need $200,000, we're going to have to increase taxes by 8 cents on the dollar. I mean,
But are we?
you're going to have to fund it somehow. Where's it going to come from?
We got money in the accounts. We
We
can find
just
it.
had
We
a
can
thing.
find it. Take on.
All right, well, then Mr. Miller mentioned,
meals
then
tax.
you've got maintenance. I mean, that's going to have to be
Well,
balanced.
we're gonna have maintenance on anything you build.
You hope rent will help offset some of that, I think.
I'm gonna
but
tell
not all.
you, and something else you got to be very leery about. I've been in this renting business for over 40 years. You put up something, and I guarantee you, somebody gonna undercut you.
They won't get the key.
No, what I'm saying
He's
is,
talking about building another facility.
no, not building another facility. You got people around here that rent their buildings for spite. They will undercut you.
Who else has a 16,000 square foot building with,
You don't need a 16,000 foot. Look at the Officers Club out there.
right?
And you're talking about these proms and stuff.
The 4 of them out there right now.
Okay.
$250.
They pay $250. Can you rent your center out there for $250?
No, I'll make you this prediction. Blackstone will charge $400 to $500 and get all those proms.
I bet you they won't.
I think they will.
I think
They will.
people don't like driving through the gated picket. They don't like it. It's inconvenient. It's 20 minutes. When you leave your shower in Brunswick Avenue, it's 20 minutes to get out there. Yvonne, I promise you, then we're going to move on. This has turned into a little preview, hadn't it?
I just wanted to remind
We have a community center.
that currently we have the community responding to Blackstone's community survey. And part of that purpose was not only just for the comprehensive plan, but also to hear from the people what it is that they want in this community. And then we will be able to look at this information that has come from the community, and then I think that would give more meat to say, what is it that we want to see? And whether it's in the Armory building, whatever building is determined, at least you will have gotten from the people what it is that people want in Blackstone. And then figure out how to make that happen based off of them. And I think we're gonna get a good turnaround, because as of today, we had about, it just went out Friday, so I know I had at least 32 responses, and that was this morning. So, you know, as far as trying to get feedback, at least you're getting something back from people in the community. Just want to remind
Are people writing in, are there places where people can write in their own blanks, like I want, there's not that good?
No, sir.
Because when I go speak to groups, whatever, sometimes I say, what do y'all want the town to do? Well, we want a coffee shop, and we want a shoe store, and I'm like, so you'll get all, good, I'm glad that you've got it refined to that. Members of council, what is your pleasure? What you want to do next month? What you want to do?
I'd like to wait to see if we get the survey results. to
Okay.
see- That way we can see what the interests are,
Okay, and that will be done, that's due April 15th?
April the 10th.
April 10th, okay.
and we can go forward with the decision at that point.
April council meeting, perhaps we can look at those surveys and get a better,
Better idea.
okay, very good. Is that fair enough? All right, Mr. Morgan, we live another day.
We do this.
Moving right along to the, yes, I'm sorry, Kathy Hanson-Wooten, I'm sorry.
I agree with Ms. Jones's idea of having a meeting, and I think we possibly have it, don't have it here in the chambers where it's perceived to be more formal and not as collegial. That a meeting at the Armory would be wonderful. And I just need to emphasize once again, that the people who are volunteering to do work at the Armory and raise money have from day one insisted that the building in its final iteration, whatever it is, be used for the entire community. It could be a learning center, it could be an activity center, it could be a sports center. The building can handle more than one or two uses. It always has.
Right.
And, the last grant that we came up with was from the Parks Service, which seemed to be a really good fit. But the first thing that had to be done on that particular grant was the town or the county had to qualify as a pass-through to whoever was gonna pay for whoever was gonna do the work.
Right.
Just remember that just remember that there has never, ever been any intention of the Armory being used for one segment of our community.
Yes, right.
We hope and pray that someday that word will get out and everybody will believe it.
Well, I think your idea of a meeting in the Armory is a good one. I will say, just because I know a lot of y'all think I'm like the wannabe historian, it's a good idea, but just to give you some perspective of how long this debate's been going on, I kid you not, what I'm about to tell you is absolutely biblical. June 2005, this council was so torn on what to do about the Armory, the town council had a special council meeting inside the Armory in June 2005. At that meeting, 20 people attended, 13 people went to the podium, and all 13 said, save the Armory. Now, it's 13,400? No, it's not, but we're hopefully we're getting near the finish line soon. I see Deborah Moore Colbert, and then we gotta roll.
With the survey, how do we get the survey?
Online, townofblackstoneVA.com. It's on the website.
It's on Facebook.
That don't have internet. I
You
mean,
can come get a copy down here.
okay.
Yes. It's also on the Facebook page.
All right, how about people who don't do that social media? How do they know that there's such an animal?
It's been mentioned in the local press, but we could put it on the bills. Can we put it on the light bills?
That's
And-
what I was gonna ask, if we could put it in with the electric bill.
Yeah.
We know it's gonna use the house.
Yes. Could we try to make that happen?
Done.
Okay. Folks, thank y'all. Thank you, council. We're going to move right along with the rest of this meeting. Item number 4, I'm going to report on this next month. I just want to give you an update. I came up with the idea last month on how to have some sort of official observation of Black History Month, and I'm leaning toward forming a committee which would include a member of council, the director of community development, a representative from the NAACP, and someone from the Civic League, and they would take nominations every year, and we could start with maybe a man, Dinwiddie does a man and woman every year. But basically, it's basically Black History Heroes, which we have a lot of in our community, but we've never, ever formally observed Black History Month. So I'm gonna report back on that next month. If any of you have any ideas, I'm all ears. But my goal is to have that done, so at the January council meeting next year, those people can be saluted, and then, they'll have the whole month of February they'll be recognized. Moving right along with the bids of the painting town hall and the fire department, we had a problem with our low bidder and the next lowest bidder.
As you may or may not know, at last month's council meeting, the authorization was to award to TMD, I believe it is. Handyman services in the amount of $10,500. Sadly, TMD produced a Class C contractor's license and are not entitled to bid on projects in excess of $10,000 by state code.
A few thousand over, or a few $100s over.
$500 over. We went to the second lowest bidder, and then there were some insurance issues that we needed to get resolved that were not able to be resolved. Contractor's license was correct, but their insurance requirements and the provision of the insurance certificate was not forthcoming. So, I recommend 4H Construction Company LLC in the amount of $17,474, and they are a licensed Class A contractor in the state of Virginia.
All right, you've heard the town manager's recommendation. What's your pleasure? This will be legal. They're the next,
They're Class A contract, yeah, and they'll have to provide us with a certificate of insurance.
We would need a motion and a roll call vote due to the amount of funds over $10,000. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, Ms. Thompson moved to award the bid to 4H Construction, $17,474. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Miller has seconded. Any further discussion? We'll have a roll call vote starting with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0.
Hold up.
Yes.
Before we go any further, could we add an unfinished business number 6?
All right, what is that?
And at your desk is the lease agreement for Bon Secours.
Yes.
In previous meetings, I looked up the minutes before, and Philip had said that there was no action needed taken, but they have this lease agreement, and they do want this approved, so it can go, and this has been in y'all's package.
This will be their rent to the town.
The current lease that you have with Bon Secours already stipulates these things. These are already stipulated, but they're asking that this particular amendment or addendum to the lease.
What's different, if there is anything different?
I think the only question we have is they're still willing to pay the maintenance fees, and they may choose to change the way we bill. We bill right now once a year, and if they choose to, then we're agreeable to allow them to do it on a monthly basis, pay them on a monthly.
They're going to pay us $1,979 per month in rent. And where would that money go to?
That money will go into a sinking fund for maintenance of the building.
Okay.
And it won't be dropped back in the checking account. It'll be set aside. You'll see an accounting report every month.
It's a boilerplate resolution. Like I say, it was recited in the 2009 agreement. These things were already set forth. Is there a motion to approve this? This is, Ms. Hasbrook has moved. Is there a second? I'll give a second to Ms. Thompson. Due to the nature of the vote, I'll ask for a roll call. Start with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. Next up, under
Who do you want to sign it, you or him? Who's gonna sign it?
probably both of us.
No, it's only
Is
one.
there a signature space at the bottom, or is this it for the town?
Town of Blackstone.
We'll let the town manager sign that.
Authorize town manager to sign it. and-
Okay, so we'll include town manager to sign.
Yes. We're going to ongoing projects. We have dilapidated buildings, item number 1.
505 Dolwell Street is no more, and 514 Center Street has been torn down. There's a little issue with that, nothing negative with the fire department. The building was there at 514. I think the fire department had initially agreed, yeah, I think we can burn it, and then I think they looked at it closely, and it was too close to a neighboring house and the utility lines. Fire department said, if you'll tear it down, maybe we can burn it then. I still think that there's some concerns about,
Mound of stuff.
it's a big pile.
Big
So,
house.
Which supposed to have
I'm
a
not
lot of
asking
radiant
right
heat.
now, because I do think my man Wallace, who is our expert demolition man, is gonna be back on or about the 1st of April, I hope. And, if he comes back, he's Johnny on the spot doing these kinds of things. So I'm gonna hold off and see if Wallace can make it back fairly
Not pretty
soon.
looking, so it needs to be done.
It needs to be done, and I've,
It would have been better standing than us knocking it down.
well, I obeyed the wishes of the fire department, and I did what I
Okay.
thought we could do. So after the 1st of April, if Wallace still doesn't seem as though he's gonna be coming back to work, then we'll have to bid it out and get.
And obviously, everything is put a lien on the property with, okay. It's not out of the town pocket. Well, technically it
It's
is.
out of pocket until
Said property sold.
you agree to waive the lien at tax sale or for whatever purpose.
So, you know, like when I asked you about this thing, so when you burn this property, you know, when you do that type of work, do you put a lien on their property, or how does that work?
When we get a request from somebody to burn down a house and it's pretty tough looking and that sort of thing, we'll take the fire department over there and say, good, bad, or ugly, are you willing to give it a shot? And the fire department's training officer, who had been Mike Smith for many years, is now Cody Lewis, comes over and looks at the building and said, yes, we can burn it. The next thing that we do, the fire department rightfully does not burn down anything that doesn't have an asbestos clearance certificate. Okay? So I'll call asbestos abatement companies and I get some prices and they'll come down and do sampling. And they do the sample, and then they bring the sample back to us and say, is present or non-present? In the one on Doswell Street, it was not present. There was no asbestos in that building that was sampled or found. The other building on 514 had an appreciable amount of asbestos.
Okay.
That asbestos was abated. Mr. Ruffin understood that what we were gonna do, and all those costs will be compiled. Burning a house down is a lot cheaper than hauling all that stuff off because there's less debris. It's fewer truckloads and all that sort of thing. But for the burned down house, there is some cleanup. We're gonna have to fill in like a little basement area and, get that metal out of there. And there's an old shed and a couple other things. That hourly rate and the tipping fees would be billed, the hourly rate for equipment and the operator would be billed back to the property owner. And the reason I like town staff doing it or town forces doing it, one, we're pretty good at it. And two, I don't have to put as much cash out front.
Right.
In hopes of one day collecting it. So I prefer town staff doing it. We've just had some staff that's been
We
asking for a
shortfall
little.
ourselves though when we put liens on people's property. For instance, over there on Brunswick Avenue, the tree that fell on the house, dilapidated house in the 500 block, I take it.
Yep. Yep.
The town only charged $600 to remove that tree.
He paid it.
He paid it the next day.
He paid it.
But what I'm saying is, if a contractor were to come in and do that,
Oh,
that'd been-
3 grand.
Yeah, easily.
2 or 3 grand. Well, I got news for you. There's someone that lives at Brunswick Avenue that's gonna have some curb and gutter work done, and I guarantee you his share of the cost will be about 7 grand. And that same person's got a daughter that's getting married in May, so I'm not sure how soon the money's gonna be coming out to the town on that. But I will say that I think the town should look at on the liens. Let's face it, I don't mind telling you it's me. I'm looking, my cost would be about $7,000. I can either pay up front, which I'm gonna try to do, or I can have a lien placed on the house. Now, think about this. I may not sell the house, or my children may sell the house 50 years from now. $7,000 is all the town will get
No interest.
at no interest. I think we should look at something on interest on liens, because the town, of course, curb and gutter is good for a community, enhances the town and all that. But that's you do a lot of that, and all of a sudden, like Erica said, for months, wow, you never get paid back. And in real dollar, in present day values, you take a beating.
They trickle back in. We've got an individual who has a lien from 2003 on their property. They want to refinance the house.
I got that lien, yes.
And the bank has requested a letter stating that the town would be willing, because I think, and this is pretty common when we tell property owners, you don't have to pay it back until you sell it. But the refinancing, I've not met a bank yet that was agreeable to refi and leave that lien in place. I'd
like
be
that
shocked
lien.
if they do this, but they've asked if that's possible. I think we can do that, but we're not gonna go in the second position. And I don't know any bank that takes,
No one wants a second, no.
so,
You're gonna pay.
the second position being liens are in order of recording in the state of Virginia.
Right. But anyway, Mr. Nash, your point's well taken. But the town, like I said, we do things cheaper, and
I did see that house that we're talking about, it had tarps on the roof today.
Yeah, I noticed that.
there are people looking at it Saturday and Sunday, and they're looking at it. I don't know if they were looking to live in it or looking
There was
to
a gentleman that called me today about what kind of permits he needed, because they're gonna remodel the house.
I believe Ms.
Great.
Beal said it was sold.
what's that?
It has been sold.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Great.
Takes a village here. I like this.
That's great news.
That's great news.
He said
Something
today
happened.
that the neighbors were already coming over to thank him for anything that they've done over there.
That's an improvement. Moving along to meals tax, we only have one business outstanding.
And as of today, they've paid.
Wonderful, wonderful. Lanco paving.
Crews will be in Blackstone sooner rather than later, right?
Will this be
We hope.
asphalt paving?
This is asphalt, isn't it? Tar and gravel. This is the real show. And the alleyway between Maple and Broad, that means both blocks, including the block behind the town square and the block where they've dug it all up between Maple and Elm Street. 2 blocks of alley will be paved. Patch areas on Dinwiddie Avenue, if you haven't been by the,
Coming over there by the gas station.
Right?
Yes, yes.
By the gas station, I hope. By the gas station, I hope.
The old minute market beside the old minute market.
that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Has the sewer line been replaced? That has been, just so everybody, it's a comedy of errors over there. We've had a water leak that has been leaking in that alley for years. It backed up into Moncur Insurance's water, not necessarily sewage, but a water leak. The sewer collapsed over, it was, anything that could happen badly has happened badly in that alley. And the blessings to the Moncurs because they've been really patient about it. They haven't been beating us over the head or anything. I think everything's done there. They poured the last apron of concrete or driveway entrance behind Trend today. That was poured. And really, it's just a matter of putting rock down and paving it. Those are really the last couple things that need to be done.
This will be asphalt, and like I said, how about Lunenburg Avenue and 4th Street, that area?
I have shown it to him.
Okay.
If he has time, when he goes on South Main, then he said he would get it.
Okay.
I've shown it to
It's
him.
really bad there.
Doing
It is.
between 6th and 8th. But aren't we gonna dig that whole road up
Well,
this year?
Here's-
I thought we had planned.
we have what's called a revenue share project. We have 3 years from the date of execution of the agreement to be done. We signed it, I think, in the fall. Okay? So we have 3 years running to redo South Main Street, almost verbatim what we did on South Main Street up to 6th. Okay? And this is the next phase. This is a small section because it's expensive. There's a lot of storm drain. And if you go in front of Jerome's building, there's all kind of bad curb and drop inlets and things. The total project is about $916,000, of which we're responsible for half. I'm not gonna have our half for another couple of years, fully put together. We have enough to maybe do engineering but I don't have our full half complete, okay? It's gonna take me a while to put $450,000 aside. I haven't put the first penny yet. The end result is, I don't think that section of pavement is gonna last for another 2 years. This is a 2-inch milling, it's not the center lanes, it's just the 2 travel lanes, and I just don't think we're gonna get any time. But what it does do, it gives us a breather that I don't have to hurry up and accelerate the other sooner than we need to. It's $450,000 local money on a revenue share that we have to come up with. I've got to spend some money to get us for a couple more years.
Can anything be done on the concrete side of West Entrance when you're in that turn lane?
That'll be milled out and done too.
Because it's pretty rough right there.
We've got
It's
about
sketchy.
200 pounds of cold patch holding that rascal
Yeah.
together over there. Yeah,
Pretty
so,
rough there.
yeah, it needs to be milled out and redone.
But the good news is, in the past, because of budgetary concerns, we've done slurry seal. This is gonna be asphalt. This is a big improvement for Blackstone.
Heads up, slurry seal. The guys have been great, they've been helpful. It's less expensive than
Yes.
paving, and it got us where we needed to be when we didn't have the resources. Places like Dinwiddie Avenue, you notice, have been flaking up, and that's the slurry seal coming off of that. April 15th, there's a company called endpotholes.com that's gonna be here, and they have a contract with VDOT. I watched them doing some of it out in a rural part of it's really just a tar and gravel patch, but it would be the perfect application to fill in. You'd asked me about them one time before, and I said, I got a different idea for that, because I think the road is salvageable, but it's got to get patched or it's just not going to get any better. So April 15th, we'll have a crew here from endpotholes.com, and we're going to take a whack at it and see if it works. It's worth a try. It can't be any worse than it is
Heck
now.
yeah, I commend you on that.
All right.
Moving right along to Wigglesworth, nothing but other than opening ceremonies are Saturday at 2 o'clock.
Man, believe it or not, we're still waiting on the feds.
The feds.
We've done everything we can for approval.
Is it gonna happen?
Yeah, it's going to happen, but
I mean, we've been talking about this for a year now.
This is a lighting, and just so people in the audience know, this is a lighting and sidewalk.
Curb and gutter.
Curb and gutter. And while we're talking about Wigglesworth, I do want to ask you this. I've had several women approach me. They like a safe place to walk. And I told them, I said, we one time had a trail drawn out on the school property. But that's not included in this.
Not a trail, but including full sidewalk encompassing the entire perimeter of the ball fields
That's a
and
good-
of the portion of the old school property
Okay.
around the building.
You know, there is a nature trail out at Fort.
I know, but we don't like going through the gate, Tom. I'm scared. The guards scare me.
Isn't the road, isn't that
They look at
road
me
supposed
funny.
to be getting paved over there too?
Everybody does.
That's part of the project.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's good. That's
What is
good.
opening ceremony?
Opening ceremonies is this coming Saturday, the earliest ever at 2 o'clock. Just like the prom. Not only had their senior prom this past Saturday in the winter.
I'm enduring my first ever T-ball experience, man. I was over there Sunday, and cars were rolling through there. And I didn't know if Chief can pick up patrols in that area now that
Sick 'em.
ball is starting. It's kids running across the road all the time. You don't want. I mean, that's bad stuff waiting to happen.
Little radar.
The
Moving on.
basketball courts too.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Eric.
Yeah.
Can we move on to East End Neighborhood Project number 6? There's a lot of work going on.
We expected the contractors to be there putting water pipe in. You can see the water pipe stockpiled behind the armory. They're not here. We called Randy Jones this morning and expressed our interest in seeing them here. It's not just because we want them to go. It's because, remember, we've got to also put in storm sewer right behind this utility project so that we can get the pavement done this calendar year. And if he doesn't get going, we're gonna run short. And so we told the contractor, it's time for you. He does have till September to do the work. But I told him, you need to be here, Jack, and it's time to get going.
All right. Rental property maintenance agreement, we have a second landlord public hearing.
I do have one item under East End.
Okay.
Attached for your consideration is a program income plan. That basically is a concept that has to be done for East End, but it also is a document that will dictate what we do with the money everybody makes the payment every month. Okay? The program income is when people make that monthly payment back to the town, be it $25, be it $50, be it $200, be it $300, that payment that when it comes back, can't just go back in the town's pocket. We set it back up in program income as a revolving fund, but for the term of the contract, which is typically a 2-year contract, that money has to be reinvested in East End.
In East End.
In East End.
So what, could it be used for weatherization?
Put it back into water lines,
Free
sewer lines, or
sign.
something.
Okay. Good.
But it can be used after the 2-year term of the contract. As soon as the contract is substantially completed or finished, then the money can go back and be used.
Townwide for program income, okay.
And I'd like, if possible, a motion to authorize approval of the proposed program income plan.
Move to approve.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the documents in your packet regarding East End and the program income. Any questions? Something we normally do on grants such as this. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Now rental property maintenance ordinance. We're fixing to take off, folks, on this.
April 1st, it starts Monday, March 25th. You're holding a second public hearing, or public meeting, I should say, for the landlords to come in and find out what is being inspected, how often it's going to be inspected, what are the costs, because it's a $50 charge. And what time is that, Yvonne?
7.
Is it here in the council chambers? 7 o'clock here in the council?
Am I correct that basically if I own rental property, let's say I'm known as having just great apartments, whatever, even if I'm a good landlord, I'm probably going to have my units inspected once every 4 years?
That makes sense to you?
Let's just say I'm known as, hey, Billy's a Cadillac guy. He takes care of his people. He's a good landlord owner. I'm not going to avoid inspections, but probably not going to be that, but probably a minimum. Someone told me once every 4 years I'll have to be inspected. Is that right?
Once we get started.
Okay. But there's certain places, like you say, there are a lot of rental. What I've seen is apartments are okay, generally speaking. There are rental homes that have, some were better than others.
So the second landlord public hearing, that's just for them to come express their opinion to you?
Yes.
Have you had any,
Myself and the inspector.
have you had any come in with negative or, I mean,
The first one we had really,
They don't want to
they
pay
just kind of
$50
talked about what had happened in the past. So it's also an opportunity for the town to gather the information, the contact information for our landlords.
Was it well attended, the first meeting?
We only had a few.
that's what I'm concerned about is it being enacted on April 1st and not saying we want power up here, but people would obviously seem to come to a regular council meeting for a public hearing other than just a general.
Be a general meeting, if you guys want to delay kickoff until May 1st, come back to the next council meeting and
Man, it's been publicized ad nauseum, though, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had landlords come to me. I got folks that say, "What's this $50 charge?" I'm like, man,
They know, just keep it like it is, keep rolling.
Is it already in the code now, correct?
It's a rental, inspection
We
program.
adopted in 1998 or 2002, and Jennifer Beck for about several years was actively enforcing. That's about all she did is so many rental units.
At one point, yeah, she was literally doing that stuff
Yep.
full time.
And so if you do have negative people, not negative people, but any input that you get from the meetings, you'll relay to us
Sure.
if we can't make it. I mean,
It's not gonna be universally,
Yeah, and people are gonna say that, thank y'all for the I can't wait to pay that $50 inspection fee. I mean, it's not gonna be that.
It's
Because
not
some of the
gonna
folks
be
own 10,
universal.
20 units.
yeah.
And that's April the 1st,
That's when it kicks off.
March 20th.
meeting on the 25th, with April 1st being the dates of the first inspection.
I say kick off April 1st. I mean,
Yep.
Dean, let's face it, we have one building inspector in Nottaway County. He's one man, and it's 8 hours in a day. And there's a town called Krug, Brookwood, there's rental property all over the county. It's not gonna be, I bet he probably can't do more than 10 a month in Blackstone. That'll be tremendous.
If that.
So, start with the worst 10. I mean, hate to say it. Moving along, weatherization, nothing to report, but the applications have been taken for weathers,
I think she's got 100 applications.
and we'll be able to fund how many? 10?
I don't know, we're gonna go to the housing rehab.
How bad?
I think, right now, after we finished all the other houses, we've got about $40,000 cash available
Okay.
to go ahead for this fiscal year to address some. Hopefully, it won't be a whole new house, because that really eats your budget pretty bad. Hopefully, we can find some weatherization project, truly weatherization, where we're doing insulation and that sort of thing, to try to stretch it out a little bit.
Homeowners go first. First preference to homeowners. Not
And
rental homes.
it is owner occupied preference.
All right, comprehensive plan.
I'll let Yvonne talk to you guys about Facebook and things and all that sort of stuff. And,
And just, like I said, as you've heard, as Yvonne comes to the podium, we've got a community survey. You can read it online. You can come here, get a copy. It's on the town Facebook page under Town of Blackstone, Virginia. Yvonne, thanks for everything you're doing.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
As I said, the survey has gone live on Facebook, and it's on the website for the town. We have hard copies. We have hard copies in the DMV section. We have hard copies over on the other side of the town office. We have a box, so when people come into the town office, they can just drop their survey off. If you have a hard copy, DMV, they will take it from you and put it in the box, and I'll collect it. And just want to let town council know, the deadline is actually on Wednesday, April the 10th. Just to confirm that, it's Wednesday, April the 10th. After that, we'll stop collecting, the hard copies. We're gonna have it online, we're gonna shut it down so we can't receive any more responses. And then gonna work on getting the results. The goal is to have the results prepared for the April town council meeting. So come back and let you all know what the results were from everybody.
Excellent.
And then we're going to move forward from there. And again, hoping that this can serve a couple of purposes. Number one, it is to help us to determine the direction of how the town of Blackstone would like to move forward in all areas of town of Blackstone. But also, hopefully it can help with the issue of what to do with the buildings and how to use our facilities in the town.
Yes, ma'am. Well said. Well
And I
said.
have some hard copies if anybody would like one right now too.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you.
And do keep in mind, comprehensive plan results and the responses do help us when we apply for grant money. Because if we can say priority number one of the town of Blackstone is to build a community center, that helps a whole lot when you go to DHCD, and that's priority number one for the town. Or build a swimming pool, or whatever those things are. Man, if they're listed as a goal or a priority, you can put that in your grant application and help a whole bunch.
Very good. Very good. All right, moving right along to new business. We have health insurance renewal, which if I'm reading things right, no increase in premiums for the town?
I think I've ever heard of that.
Finance director's done a fabulous job negotiating the rate.
That's amazing. We just have a healthy year last year or what? I mean, just,
We're all healthy.
that's good.
No increases, and then
Stand up.
ask that I need to renew, so I think we need a recommendation. I emailed the insurance committee. We just want to keep it tiered like we do. We pay 100% for the employees for the 1,000 deductible plan and 50% for family, spouse. If they have an option to buy up to the 500 deductible, but we have that all tiered. I think that
Fantastic.
was real good news, no increase.
Excellent news. Excellent news. I entertain a motion from council.
Move to approve, just going with the Key Advantage 500 and 1,000. Well, 1,000 with the possibility they can buy up to the 500.
Second.
All right, motion been made and second. Any further discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. We now are going to award bids for the tractor and sickle mower.
The tractor and sickle bar that we currently have is the one that Richard Poole drives regularly. It had been placed in the budget. There is $60,000 earmarked for the purchase of such. Instead of doing outright seal bids, I wanted to do something a little different. We wanted to check PTO horsepower, which is important for this particular tractor. So we went back to the state bid process, and there are actually 2 tractors that were available state bid-wise. We didn't advertise this as out for bid, but it does meet procurement requirement because the state has already procured this. The 2 tractors we received was a quote from Taylor Ford, which is both here in Quantico, and they had I believe, a Terrain King sickle bar, and the total for those 2 items together was $56,857.02. The second price that we received off the state bid documents was from John Deere, and it was $59,028.09. And I'm pleased to announce that the lower price provided the higher PTO horsepower.
So the low bidder is,
Taylor Forbes Equipment in Farmville in the amount of $56,857.02.
What's the Sourcewell discount? Is that being that it's the government contract?
I would assume it's because it's on that state bid, yeah.
I would like to get that deal. You get $10,000 off.
oh, I see. I entertain a motion for council to approve the low bid as presented by the town manager.
Move to approve.
Ms. Thompson seconded Mr. Nash's motion. Due to the amount of money, I'll have a roll call vote starting with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. Next up, looks like we're having a big party out at Main Tamers. And the only reason town council is being asked, she's having a party on May 11th. They're going to have tickets. They're going to sell apparently food and be alcohol. They're getting an ABC license, but they need us to waive the noise ordinance. That's the only dog we have in this fight, right?
That I'm aware of.
It's going to go from 3 to 9 p.m. on a Saturday. That's not too bad. It's a big commercial area out there.
It says security on site. That's not our police force. I take it. Okay.
Will sound carry over to fair?
Oh yeah, we'll hear. I mean, it backs my neighborhood out here.
3 to 9 o'clock. I mean, yeah, old sound. If it's a party, that's worth going to. You're going to hear it. Move to strike.
Good thing is it's only 9. And if it were a little bit later, it'd probably be more of an issue. But
What's your pleasure?
I move to approve. Representative.
It's nice to be asked. Most of the time, these things take place
just
and
do it.
no one asks permission.
Cops go down there and tell everybody to turn it down.
We have a motion second to waive the noise ordinance. This party-friendly council, what's your pleasure? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes
It'll
have
be
it.
a $30 admission fee. So
Tell
it must
you
be
what.
some good food and drink.
I'm not paying that much to go see one of my bands next month. White Snake.
Steve Hall gonna be there because
But I'm going to Clay's for
we know
wine
we got
tasting.
$30 right there.
Our next item, we have Zachary Whitlow is going to give us an update on tourism. Okay.
And I'm sorry I didn't make it to the council package, but there is a sheet for everybody up there. I want to pass it to everybody.
Are you
Okay.
gonna report, cause
It's
in
just
the,
It's just informational.
okay, cause in the videos, I can't ever hear you when you're talking out here, so I
Okay.
don't know if you had something to report or not.
We will have a handout. Thank you, Zach. And we'll look forward to hearing more on that in the weeks ahead. Committee referrals are coming up. Y'all may need to get your pen and paper ready for this. Beautification. There we go. Very good. I'm ex officio on the tourism committee. Okay, great. Fantastic. That's good. When's the next? Oh, April 23rd, there'll be a meeting. Very good, very good. Folks, on the committee referrals, Mr. Van Norbeck, you have nothing that I know of. I want to give a lot of credit. Beautification committee is it's about 8 or 9 of us that are meeting about once every 2 months. Jimmy Johnson is doing a great job. We have 2 members here tonight, I believe. We have Monica Frisbee's on the committee, and we have Deborah Moore Colburn on the committee. And what I've tried to encourage this group to do, because they see a lot. They see a lot of things that I've told you that I'm not used to seeing. And Tom Taylor's on the committee. I didn't know. You were so quiet. You were so quiet. I didn't hear you. We have three of our 8 members here tonight. So I asked them to focus on some small goals so we can give town staff. And here are a few that I would like for the buildings and property to take this on. One, they would like some sort of resolution with the town shop area on Church Street, where we park our equipment. Are we either gonna vacate that area or where
The one
the,
we've sold or the one we still own?
across the street from where Dave McCormick owns, where vehicles are sometimes parked in the bays, sometimes out in limbo. They also would like to see the light poles painted downtown, the Renaissance street lamps that are 30 years old, are faded. And the committee prefers black, but again, that would be a town council decision. They're just an advisory group. It looks like Schwartz Tavern it's time to repaint Schwartz Tavern, which was done, I think, within the last 10 years. And just 3 more. They would like to see the gazebo in the park painted. It's time to repaint that. Off-white was a recommended color. Instead of white, off-white, cream or tan color. 2 more. On that gazebo, the town park has really looked great the last couple of years. The LED lights are popping. The gazebo has been a combination of LED and traditional classic white lights. They would like the gazebo to go back to traditional white lights because that is the original centerpiece of the park. It was the first thing that was ever decorated other than the trees. And then Jimmy Johnson asked, and I didn't know the answer to this, do we have a sprinkler system in Schwartz Tavern? Is there a water sprinkler system in Schwartz Tavern?
In Schwartz?
In Schwartz Tavern. I know the Carriage Museum has one.
Sprinkler system?
Like Kisses of
I don't
Fire.
remember a sprinkler system, but I know it's an alarm
I don't think there
system.
is one in Schwartz Tavern.
There's not one Carriage Museum, is it? There's
I
no
thought-
warp fire
I would say
connection.
the newness of that building would indicate it probably is.
Is it?
There's one in the Carriage Museum.
Yeah, I would think so, but I don't think there's one in the tavern.
All right. That, I would like to refer those suggestions to the Buildings, Property, Cemetery Committee, and then there was 2 for Health and Ordinance. One, and folks, we have areas in town that are in the auto business. Not all of them, so don't anybody thinking I'm picking on anybody, but there's some areas that have a large number of junk cars. By code, because they're a business establishment, they can currently have junk cars, and no one wants to get rid of junk cars because you have to repair. The committee has wondered if it could be possible to require screening for these facilities. Like when you come in, crew from the Burkeville side, the late Waylon Love used to have a junkyard. The county required screening there with fencing. And then one thing Jimmy Johnson is very passionate about, and I didn't know anything about this, and y'all have heard a little bit about this with Mr. Donito's request on 8th Street. Jimmy says the town of Blackstone and several committee members ought to look at an outdoor light ordinance, which basically requires if you're a commercial establishment with spotlights, that you have to shine those lights can only go on your property and not protrude out into the
It's
neighborhood.
already in town code.
It is.
Yeah, you're not allowed to interfere with the residential or adjoining residential property.
Okay.
Do that as it
Well,
is.
committee members, we need to inform Mr. Johnson he can take action against one of the people he is concerned about.
Now, residential now, the commercial side,
He's getting commercial light in his residential area
from a commercial activity.
from a big commercial establishment in his neck of the woods. Yeah.
I don't know anybody that close.
The Heritage Hall is what he just said.
It's simple to go over there and talk to them.
Right. He's,
Anyway.
anyway, but if I can refer those 2 items, the health and ordinance, the screening for inoperable vehicles, and the outdoor light ordinance, which apparently we already have.
We got, and I'm sure that if they knew they were offending a neighbor, they would do something very.
Well, they would put up there for safety for people leaving work.
Right.
I mean,
Well, he's not against that. It's not that. It's
He's just the one shining
Yep, Jimmy can explain it very vividly, and like I said, but one of the things Jimmy mentions, again, this was news to me. When you have light pollution, which I see from time to time on social media, it affects plants growing. Plants don't grow if they get lighted all the time. They stop growing. Y'all were at the committee meeting. Didn't he say something to that effect?
We spray
Deborah?
paint our street lights behind the garden center in the winter because of that.
Right.
Because you don't want all that light.
Correct. So Jimmy, like,
Had he ever approached Heritage Hall? I don't remember him saying he had.
I don't think Jimmy has approached Heritage Hall, and again, but I think we can inform Jimmy, the chairman, that there is remedy on the books for him. That's all I have in the committee referrals. Under Mayor's Minute, I have more great news for everybody here. I received a letter. I'm not going to reveal the name, but I will let members show it. First of all, I want to commend you, town crews. Cemetery was not in the committee. The cemetery committee, cemetery issue was very difficult. I will say, driving through the last few days, it looked nice. All we need is some green grass. But I did get a letter from someone that just, basically they had set things out a week before the cleanup. They live in the area, and they asked, and I said I would pass along, and I know you're gonna cringe at this, but maybe next year when we do the cleanup, we'll spread the word and beat the bushes like we always done. If something looks obviously new or fresh, could we maybe, that's obvious, could we maybe not toss that?
Favoritism. You're gonna have people. Philip and I
If
walked
it- if it-
out there. He said, I looked at something. It looks good, and I go, well, if you leave it though, someone's gonna accuse you of but you took mine down right over here.
Okay, I told the person I would bring it before the council. They had put some things out a week before. I don't know why they didn't come and get them.
Keep it as it's going and see if it happens next year.
week before.
I
You
think
can't-
people have
you gotta
learned
stay
this
on the
year what's
straight and
gonna
narrow.
happen Because they've come back.
You gotta
and
stay on the
it's
straight and
gone. I
narrow.
think they're gonna know from
So
that.
just to be clear, council I just said I would bring it before the council.
And that's good. I mean, we
Right.
want to hear.
I
their
mean, I
feedback.
got a letter here with pictures. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of heartbroken. It's a World War II veteran. I mean, it's you know, you
Were
read
they
the.
aware of the policy?
I don't know how they were not. I know they're very avidly read local publications and they're active member of the community. So I'm surprised that they got caught. That they had put things out a week before the cleanup.
I think the council, and especially Christine, did a heck of a job.
Yes.
It needs to
Getting
stay
a
like it
policy
is,
that
straight and
fits
narrow.
Everybody, and
Well, if we start maybe a month's notice, just reminder, so they have plenty of time, maybe two, in the newspaper.
Paper, and we have the Facebook page now
We
too,
have
which will be
Facebook page,
more aggressive.
And of course, those people who don't use Facebook will have the newspaper. Maybe we can put it on the light bill, but a lot of people who own property, cemetery plots
We
may
keep
not. be
add to the
town.
light bill, that'll be 5 pages.
But that's a good point. I think the bottom line is, can we all agree, we'll just beat the bushes harder next year?
come February 1, we'll start
Yes.
making it known. Hey,
The sky's falling. The
it's
sky's
coming in
falling.
1 month. We're gonna clean up.
Right.
But we
When you
walked
get-
through there with our dogs yesterday on leashes,
Of course you did.
and it did look very nice over there.
It does. It really does. How long did it take y'all to do? 4 days?
I think we started on Tuesday, because I didn't want to start on Monday. Dan was out on Friday, and they want to get kicking over there. So we passed on Monday. We started on Tuesday. I think you and I may have spoken, and we held off for a couple more days.
To get people to Thursday.
I got everything out of the grass on Tuesday, flowers that were stuck in the ground. And then for the saddle monuments, I waited until Thursday, and I think you put something on Facebook.
Yep.
Did you not? And
I
so
did.
That's why I didn't do anything until Thursday, and I think Friday we went down there and cleaned a few more. There's plenty of stuff already back. Plastic containers are an unknown. Flower pots.
That was one of the things this person had. They had several pictures of where weed eaters had hit holes in their plastic containers.
Picked up.
It can't be
Plastic
plastic.
containers can't be on the grass.
And weed eaters are hitting the name placards, that the funeral home puts there by the headstone, But anyway,
That's why we try to avoid stuff in the grass.
you're right, right.
And the brush along the roadway, it's been cut back. It looks really
Yeah, it
nice.
looks a lot better. The guys went
It's
down
not
there.
gonna scrape cars going by.
The new gravel the town put in.
Overall, it went well. I mean, the blood clot, I heard a little bit of complaints and people were frantically on Facebook, hey, if you're going to the cemetery, get my mom and daddy stuff. But a lot of times, Cindy Taylor Long's got a lot of items for a lot of people.
She did. No, that's good.
So,
I'm glad she did.
that's my mayor's minute. Staff doing a heck of a job.
Talking about cemeteries.
Yes.
Well, Philip's supposed to be looking into getting something done with the Greenview Cemetery.
So you guys know that is a privately owned piece of property. I don't know the full history behind it or how it's deeded or any of that sort of thing. But Wayman Mitchell and I did a little researching about it. We rode over there. It's not the town's obligation, but I do think we have a moral obligation to do that which we can, not necessarily spending town monies. We're not looking at annexing that into town or making a responsibility. But the state code does have a fund for maintaining abandoned or unmaintained African-American cemeteries in the state of Virginia. And there's a fund that you can make application to the state. You have to prove that there's somebody buried there from before 1900. And I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if there's somebody there prior to 1900. But I do think you have some historical sites over there that may have come from Pickett, where people may have been interred before 1900 and may have been moved out of Pickett years ago when they were repossessing property. Or
Another one on the eastern edge of Fort Pickett, that's right on Gills Bridge Road, same thing.
The late Beverly McKeel got that started. Did they ever, some groups clean?
We had gotten the Boy Scouts and soldiers from Fort Pickett, we went out there and actually cut stuff down with chainsaws and tried to, but I don't know who's maintaining it now.
I'm
Or
not
if
talking
it's
about
being
maintaining headstones or bringing dirt, I'm talking about cutting the grass.
Yeah, well, just cutting grass, there's trees growing out of
There are
people's-
trees growing out of it.
Sam Mills did it one time. 2 summers ago, Sam Mills got out there with a bunch of volunteers and they cut grass that was with push mowers that was this tall, but they got it cut.
But if anybody contacts you on why are we doing that, because morally, I think if we can do better, I think we can try to do better. Because it's not cut regularly. It looks tough over there in places.
Have you contacted the county? You said you were gonna contact.
I need to write a letter to the county still.
And we know the property owner that we have.
I
know
think
the
I can
property
find who
owner.
the property owner is.
I know the property owner.
Yeah.
Madam President's got some insight there.
So heads up, like I said, we're not trying to take it over. We're not trying to use town forces to cut it. We're just trying to find some resources at state
This
level.
may be taken wrong, but is the property owner profiting off of the cemetery as it is?
No,
Gosh, I don't know.
They're not, okay. I didn't know if they're
No idea what the
charging
arrangements are.
for maintenance of it.
they
I
really
think
don't, not,
Michael
don't have
Hawks'
anything to do
back
with it, really.
portion
They're
and
not-
juice
It's
section.
two different, it's kind of two different parts to it. Two other things I've got to mention in Mayor's Minute, just keep this in the back of your mind. Barbara Thompson and I had a meeting not too long ago with a constituent and had raised several issues in town. One issue that I told Philip, and Philip is very receptive about, I'd like to see the town try to see if we can make the lowest paid garbage personnel $11 an hour in the next budget. I think the lowest some are paid are 9 or 10.
I think we got some $10 guys.
I'd like to see if we could do that. As you know, I also mentioned I'd like to see us try to incentivize some of our police officers to live in town by giving them a stipend every year. That's something the finance committee will look at. There was something else that was brought up to our attention.
I tell you, you don't appreciate it when you're driving to work and you got your warm cup of coffee in your hand, your heat's
Yeah.
going, and they riding on the back of that truck when they pass. So
That's
you
right.
don't really appreciate it at all.
Well,
No, I'm talking about the garbage collector.
and the citizen also said something Mr. Morgan has echoed twice tonight, and that is they were worried about the number of the street personnel being thin and a lot of burden being placed on the electrical department, which, I mean, that's how you save money, but if we can maybe get a few more bodies in the street
It's soon to
department.
catch up with us if we don't fix that, I think. You already got one out for,
Understood.
huh?
We've already got a plan. We're already
Good.
way out in front.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, if you notice, we are doing a whole lot less than we used to do. We don't pour concrete anymore. We don't lay water pipe. We don't lay sewer pipe. We do maintenance and maintenance only. We're trying to privatize as many of the activities like cutting grass and that sort of thing. And the end result is not layoffs, but the end result is attrition simply by not needing as many folks. Now, there's still plenty of grass to cut. Ball fields and school properties and cemeteries will never run out of grass to be cut because I don't think those are easily bid out and contracted. But those things that can be contracted, I would like to pursue additional contracting. Here's what our problem is. Nobody likes to ride the garbage truck, except the garbage men. They like it,
That was
for the
mentioned.
most part.
Yeah.
We have part-time folks that I've added part-time positions to replace full-time positions because it's less expensive. And you're not hiring somebody and finding out that I'm paying benefits in the full amount of things and to find out this guy isn't really working out or we start literally everybody at the bottom at Public Works as a part-time person. We've probably elevated a half a dozen into full-time jobs over the past couple of years, okay? But I think the part-time's working. The current crop of part-timers, they skirt around riding a garbage truck. They don't like doing it. And there's been accusations, well, I have to ride it more than this guy, or he's got to ride it more than me. Well, the end result is all of them are doing a disservice to us. Are we ready to turn everybody loose? No, I got grass to cut, and we got to get moving on. If you notice in the newspaper this week, it's coming Wednesday, there will be a series of advertisements, and I held off on the advertisements until Dan Martin was ready for me to advertise, okay? He said, don't do it until I tell you. And the reason we don't advertise for those kinds of positions in January is because there's no sense in feeding somebody if all we're doing is riding around picking up mattresses and carpet on the side of the road.
Right.
We're not cutting grass. So there's a method to the madness.
Sure.
Trust me, and I know there are concerns, but
Well, we need
We
some
know
more
what we're doing.
full-time positions on street folk.
we need full-time people with commercial driver's license
Right.
and a driver's license, and they're very difficult to get.
And I agree with all the above, but I'm gonna sound like the predecessor of the committee chairman. But remember, we have to balance the budget
Sure.
with the funds that we have.
Sure.
And I completely agree. No, the garbage guys, they need to raise, most definitely, yes. We need more guys on the street.
Well, you gotta have point blank. You cannot keep overloading the electrical
Oh, I
department.
know. No, most definitely. I agree.
So you've got to equal that, whether you wanna spend the money or not. You gotta have a
Do
good
keep in
crew.
mind one thing, the electric department isn't always necessarily doing electric work. They do a lot of tree work, they do all those kinds of things for us,
Right.
and they're well compensated for what they're doing, okay?
Electric department is very well. Yeah.
The problem comes in when you have an emergency. You've got a tree blown down at 2 o'clock in the morning on
Gotta
the
have everybody
corner
there.
of Fifth and Brunswick, and you ain't got enough street guys because half of them decide they're not coming in. You're not coming in, what do you mean? I've had a couple beers, I can't make it in. Okay, so the electric crews are cutting up a tree.
So what do you do in a
We're
situation
paying
like
these
that?
other guys much higher wages to come in. When
Yeah, paying the electrical guy overtime versus paying the street guy overtime is a big
Yeah,
difference.
huge difference.
All right.
What am I gonna do about it? We're making a move now, and we're doing everything judiciously and slowly, and so that we don't expose the town any more than we need to. But there are gonna be grass season changes, and we're gonna have a fresh crew of smiling faces. But I can tell you, finding people, I'll be frank with you, who can pass a drug test and who can provide a driver's license ain't the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah,
At
no,
$9 an
we've
hour.
talked about that.
we have.
At,
Yeah, we
at
have.
$9 an hour, there's not a huge pool. I think we're at full employment in Southside Virginia. People that want to work and make those kinds of dollars, whew, those folks are tough to get. You're going to have to pay more for that.
I mean, it's right here in the insurance that we just approved. I mean, each pay period, they're getting an extra $671.
Town pays on
Oh,
that.
yeah, the
So
benefits are
there's
the best,
benefits.
no doubt, no doubt.
But younger generation like myself, I do. But a lot of people, they don't look at it as they look at it. I don't go to the doctor anyway,
That's
so
right.
that's not a benefit to them.
You're right, you're
So-
right. Big budget season. The good thing, folks, is that we have resources to have these discussions. And we will have to decide prioritize our needs in the coming months. This is the second time on the agenda that where you can address the council. What's that? Yeah, yes, Monica. Yes, I'm sorry. You may address, this is the round two of the visitors.
Okay. Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor and council. I stand before you tonight to speak on behalf of LCCDC, Life Changing Community Development Corporation. And we would like to request that the town could assist us with the electric part of our light bill. And that would be for March and April, which truly reflects January and February bill. Over the years, we've seen an increase in our electric bill, and the town has been working with us, but we would like some assistance, up to the amount of $1,300. It probably will not take that amount, but that's the amount that's been decided on, and we're requesting assistance for the electric portion of the bill.
Is this a question, you requesting us to waive that charge or to provide a payment plan for that or what?
Provide funds.
To spot your $1,300?
No. It would only be for the bill, so we would actually get nothing. So the bill, whatever is due, it would kind of be like a credit, that type of thing, but the funds would come from town.
So basically, it's being asked to waive $1,300 of the electrical charge, in
Or
layman's terms.
up to.
Up to $1,300.
They've got a bill now, I think it's $500 and some dollars
50.
that they owe for this month.
Okay.
They haven't gotten next month's bill. So we've looked at the piece of paper, I didn't bring it in. They don't have next month's bill, but they owe
Anticipating,
$500. They're anticipating a big bill next month, which everybody is. And the problem is, LCDC is tutoring kids now, and they've gotten a new art program in, and we don't want to see it shut down.
You're a 501c3.
Yes.
Correct.
Have we ever had a situation where the town has waived for a 501c3 or any customer? I'm just
It
trying
wouldn't be a waiver.
Well, what's the proper terminology?
The terminology is, they wouldn't make the payment, you'd make the payment out of the council's discretionary fund. So the electric fund would be made whole, but it's the town paying their bill.
Using discretionary funds to pay their bill. Okay.
End result is they don't have to pay it. I think the result is the same.
So is this like a one-time thing? Huh?
No, so that's what I was just.
Is this like a one-time thing?
For right now, yes. Because when the summer months come, there's really not a need. The bills go down, and we're able to handle it with the donations and grant money and programs that we do. So right now, that's the request. Now, would we come back at a later date? I can't promise you yes or no. But for right now, this is the need.
And what are the programs exactly that you're doing now? You are providing?
We have a grant there that's called Too Good for Drugs, and we do that there at the center, and we're also in the public school systems. We're in Nottaway, Dinwiddie, and Petersburg public school systems providing that. We have tutoring, we have dances, we have different classes, and so as the summer come, we'll be doing additional programming. So, I mean, we are always looking for volunteers and people to help, but it's just community outreach. And so right now, we service about 80% of the kids that we service are here in the Blackstone area. There's a possibility that kids could come from Crew or others, or, you know, friends or family visiting for the weekend if we have a dance and kids come from other areas. But basically, 80% of the youth that we serve is here from the Blackstone area.
Are the children, parents providing any kind of fees for this programs that you're offering?
Usually there aren't fees. When we do the youth dance, there is a fee for them to come for that, but usually it's not a fee.
Is everybody who works there a volunteer or are there paid staff there?
No paid staff. I mean,
Okay.
we've had someone that was there that they're doing the daytime, but it's not paid. It might be a stipend or something like that
Right.
if we have the funds, but usually it's all volunteer.
Okay. And you're on the board, just to be clear, because I can't recall a request like this, to be honest with you. You're on the board of LCCDC?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
The only request I remember of any sort of was, and it didn't have to do with it, but it was with LCCDC, was van repairs. And I believe that us on council actually individually
Mr. Moncure, Mr. Green, some others, yeah.
Yeah.
That was for the,
repairs of that van.
was that the LCCDC van?
Yeah, I think it was.
It was, that's right.
It was, suggested.
I think Mr. Mitchell brought it up.
That's right.
Was that yours?
It was like $1,100 worth of repairs for the van or something.
Yes, we have the
I
van.
remember that. I remember that.
And also,
Actually, the, council did not, do anything with that. Mr. Wayman and, well, Ms. Thompson, I know that Mr. Wayman came and talked to Ms. Thompson. She gave a donation, and Mr. Wayman, he got a, repair person to do it.
That's right. That's right. He did. He did.
Do you receive monthly funding, or is it quarterly, or how do you, or do you get grants? How do you, how does money
The
come?
grant that we have, donations is basically what we get. So the grant that we do have, it's for programming, and, you know, minimum can be used for actually overhead, and it's basically just programming to be able to go out and
This goes back to,
Everything else you get is all strictly donations.
donations.
this goes back to why we had that plan that we had presented the county with demolishing this building that they're currently in and putting them in the old cafeteria building, because what y'all are in is just a big balloon, and it's horrible for heat and cooling, so.
Right. Right. These are, it's an unusual request, but certainly I know you do a lot of good work over there. Members of council, do you want to study this? Do you want to?
Well, we gotta think about, I mean, it's actually helping the youth in this area, so, you know, that's the plus about it. But then you have to look at it, you know, hey, somebody else may come along and say, okay, well, you did this, so. But,
I think it, well, you know, she went to the county, and the county has asked her, what is the town of Blackstone did for her? And I feel that if we would do something for her, then in turn, she can say, well, when the county asks her, she can say, okay, this is what the town of Blackstone did for me. So it could be a positive thing, too.
Did you ask the county for funding for the?
We have in the past.
Okay.
And they want to know who else has
They
helped.
want to know what the town of
So
Blackstone
what you're saying
did.
is somebody's got to start, get the ball rolling.
Right, right, that's what I'm saying.
It's not too unlike, now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm sitting here thinking, I do worry about precedent, setting precedent, that sort of thing. We have a lot of utility customers out there. While the amount of money is probably on the large side, it's not too unlike having, and I'm just using this building as an example, in years past, the Armory, when it was owned by the town, we practiced basketball in there, and the people of Blackstone did pay electrical and paid, I can remember some months sitting here as a cub reporter, the council paid $1,000, $2,000 to put heat on that furnace. So while it is a weird animal because we've just never been asked for this before, and I'm kind of maybe comparing what apples and oranges, but there have been instances in the past where the council has provided help to those who are providing aid to children, and using a town-owned building. This building's not town-owned per se, and I do think we should put on the record. I do not want to dare anybody misinterpret this, but LCCDC, and we have a town employee. You are still involved with LCCDC, aren't you? I just want to get that out there because I wouldn't want anybody to think, well, they did it because a town employee's involved. I want everybody to know that this conversation is bigger than that, thinking globally about the children and what's been done in the past. So I just want to get that on the record.
I think we could
Well,
help,
Yeah.
and then you can go back and tell the other people that we helped and how much we helped you with.
Well, if
I'm
we
just
paid
thinking
half, the
about-
county could pay the other half.
Yeah.
Yeah, has Nottaway County ever helped before?
No, they're asking if the town of Blackstone has helped.
Did you appear before their budget committee and ask for some funds last week during their budget?
No, not
Okay, okay.
recently. It's
Okay,
been
okay.
in the
And I
past.
don't want to be negative, Nancy, and don't take this wrong, but again, and it's, what's done is done. But we did the ditch. We're gonna have people come up. We do this. We're gonna have, help. But they were here tonight. They talked about the situation that I just don't want to put us out there too much. And help helps the community tons. They food bank galore. Helping with town utility bills. I don't know. It's a
The
tough
thing
spot.
about this, we have to look at, we're talking about the youth. We don't have a whole lot of programs in the area for the youth. So
We don't
if
have
this
any
happen-
programs.
Exactly, so if this happened to youth, that's a little different, I think.
Just for the record, though, Mr. Nash made me think, does HELP get a light bill from the town?
Yeah.
Do they pay a light bill to the town? It's probably a small light bill because but they do. I just want to get that out there on the record, just, think about it. The floor is open for a motion. You can move to waive, to deny, to do half and half. What's your pleasure, members of council?
Has help been contacted or social services or anything?
I don't know if they do it for organizations like that. I think they're more.
I'd like to make a motion.
All right, Mr. Miller, you have the
I'd
floor.
like to make a motion that we help LCDC with this month's bill and next month's bill. Before I do that though, I looked at last year's bill and the year before, they were $200. That's what they were. So you figure if it's $500 plus the $200, it would only be $700. So I would like to put a motion on the floor that we help her with $800.
Okay.
A second.
All right. Mr. Hasbrook has seconded Mr. Miller's motion. They have asked for $1,300. Mr. Miller's motion calls for $800. It's been duly seconded. Any further discussion? We will have a roll call vote starting with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries 6-1. The Board of Supervisors meets Thursday at 7.
Now, is there any way that we can start looking at some type of plan in the future?
I think we probably should, Mr. Morgan, you're wise, ought to have some sort of, what we've done tonight, we probably ought to have a policy regarding 501c3s that provide aid to children, or provide, I'm not trying to do ex post facto here,
Help
but
provides aid to children. They provide food.
yeah, help make sure lights don't get cut off for children.
But kids need a lot more.
They do. They do. But let's just be real now. Let's before we adjourn. If Jerry Cole or Ann Stiles come to this podium next week and says, "Look,
We must pay it.
we've been paying light bills out of our own pockets, and we can't do it anymore. We've got a $1,300 light bill." We are going to probably do the same thing, I would think.
And
I'm not trying to pit people against each other. I'm just trying to say.
down and stuff. But remember, we're just talking about we want to hire new people. We want to get raises. Just keep that in mind.
Well, you got to look past. There are more unfortunate kids out there than yours and
I completely
mine.
understand.
So-
Don't try to make it
No,
like
no,
I'm
no,
being
no,
negative.
no.
Please. Again, I'm
Well,
trying to be
your
realistic.
concerns have been voiced. We've all heard them. I think we can move
We got
past
money
this.
going
We've all
out.
voted.
Yeah.
We've got to.
All right. Anything else on the agenda? Any other speakers tonight under round two? Mr. Whitlow?
I just did want to let you know that DBI's dedication plaque to Debbie Yancey is finished. Watkins did a great job, and I hope to contact Dan soon if the town can help us install it on the new bench in the town square.
What does it say in loving, in memory of Debbie Yancey, or?
And her
Perfect.
day of passing is her praise, and love the journey, not the destination.
Yep, that's great, that's great. Anyone else tonight? We've covered it all, folks. We try to give you a variety here. I mean, we try to, hearing no other business, I'll declare the meeting adjourned. Philip? Oh, we have a closed session, don't we, for personnel?
Closed session, 5 minutes for personnel.
Okay, we need a motion to go into closed session. Do you need to say the department?
I will, and
Okay.
the police department and the
Mr. Thompson will make the motion.
garage department.
Going to personnel.
These are matters we had discussed previously with the employment committee.
All right.
So you read what it says, make a motion to go into closed session for personnel, and read what it says there.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Y'all been a good audience.
I make a motion that we go into personnel to discuss the
Read that for her and see.
I can't, you're like Lonnie, I can't make the motion. I can't make the motion.
read that, I can't see.
Read the personnel part.
Right there.
You're going in, you're making a motion to go into closed session for the following.
I make a motion, we go into closed session for the following: for the discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion,
Zach,
salary,
Zach.
discipline, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of any public body.
Okay, and who seconded the motion to go into closed
Ms.
session?
Thompson,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
I'll give
Opposed? We stand in recess for about 2 minutes for